Clats, welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you very much for having me, man. Really appreciate it.
It's good. We were cracking up earlier because we had to go into town and pick you up. So we were pretty scared not to like speak on like the entire podcast in the car, right?
Yeah, it was tricky. So I guess from that, I was just like asking you about the background of the podcast and stuff like that. You had some pretty incredible people on here, a few friends of mine as well, like Reese Rich and Will McLean, which is awesome. So yeah, it was hard though, but yeah, I really appreciate you picking me up, man. Thank you. The problems of not living in Wellington anymore, I guess.
Yeah, I know. So good, so good. So for people who aren't familiar with you and your mahi, bro, do you mind just introducing yourself?
Sure thing. So my name's Charles Clatworthy. I run a company called Costal Promotions. We're a multifaceted music business from Wellington and Auckland, New Zealand. And yeah, we're essentially concert promoters. We run a whole range of live music events throughout the country. We started in 2018, and essentially our vision is to create live music experiences for people, unique experiences, activating unique venues, and then hosting incredible international and local artists.
Fuck yeah, that's a good sales pitch, eh?
Yeah, and we also have a festival as well, which is sort of my main body of work that I've been working towards over these years. So that's called High Tide Festival, which is hosted in Wellington. And yeah, it's an incredible 2-stage open air festival that we host in Petone, right on the water's edge. It's pretty cool.
Unreal, brother. And we'll definitely unpack that a bit more throughout the episode. But I was really keen to basically start at the beginning. So you studied at, was it Massey University?
Yeah, so I went to Massey University at the College of Creative Arts there and studied a Bachelor of Commercial Music, majoring in music industry, which changed my life. It was definitely something that I'm very happy that I did. It was quite an interesting one. So it was at school sort of deciding what I was going to do. My mother was a lawyer. My brother's a lawyer. I was looking to do law, very close to doing it. And then my godmother said to me, there's this music course down in Wellington because her daughter had just gone and they'd been to the open day, and she's like, there's this college of creative arts down there. They've got this Bachelor of Commercial Music degree. It's just started. You can major in music industry. I think that's something that you should look into because I'm not sure if you really should be a lawyer. And I was like, that actually sounds quite interesting. Well, it was more just like, she's like, I don't feel like your heart's in it with being a lawyer. I was like, yeah, it was sort of just something that's viable, you know, that's going to pay you good money, you know, it's something that's quite intellectual and interesting to learn about. So then I was sort of like, okay, let's go have a look into this further. And I was actually quite scared to tell my parents. I was like, I wonder how they're going to feel about me saying, hey, I don't want to be a lawyer anymore. I want to be a concert promoter. I want to work in the music industry.
Work in the creative arts, yeah.
Yeah, and they were very supportive, which was amazing. It was definitely something that was a bit daunting to me, but they were like, go for it if you enjoy it. So I went down to the open day and absolutely loved it. And it's pretty special. Like now I'm still very involved with the uni. I go there and do guest lectures,
cool, man,
which is pretty awesome. So I speak to the first year students and sort of just talk about utilizing the course coming up in the industry. And yeah, the whole main thing that I do in my guest lecture is essentially talking about you're at university now. Now is a time where you need to seize the moment of getting your first foot in the door in the music industry. Start working now, start doing shows now, all that sort of stuff. Whatever you're doing in the music industry, start now because you have this perfect opportunity where you're at university, you're getting a student loan, you have more free time than you would do if you were working a full-time job. So that's sort of like the perfect catalyst to be able to get started in the music industry.
And what originally brought you to gravitate towards the music industry?
It's actually quite an interesting one. So I've sort of been into it for a while, or like, you know, since a young age, but I remember I was really blown away. I was year 11, so 15 or 16 at the time, had a fake ID and went to watch A$AP Ferg, who's obviously a big international rapper.
Really quickly, how did you do the fake ID? Do you scratch that 8
one of my
into a
brothers,
3?
one of my brother's mates scratched it from an 8 to a 3.
Nice.
And that served me very well. Me and a few of my mates did that.
Love it.
Yeah, it was awesome. So I went to watch A$AP Ferg at the studio, and it was one of my first proper gigs, and I was just absolutely captivated. I was like, this is just insane. It was a connection really for me about just like creative arts, music, live music experiences. And I was like, I feel like this is something that I want to invest myself in. This is what like is like a passion for me. So it all sort of started there, and I started heavily getting involved in music and just going to a lot of events and stuff like that. And it was funny, before I started promoting or anything, like I was actually how I started, because I work with Audiology now quite a bit. They're co-owners in the festival and stuff like that, which is great, and I owe them a lot. But when I first started, shout out to Audiology. When I first started, I was just working for them, doing like just promoting. So it wasn't even working. It was literally just promoting stuff on Facebook, just trying to get my foot in the door before I sort of went to uni and stuff. And then went down to Massey, spent the first year sort of as you do first year, dicking around a bit, I guess you could say. Like, you know, I was definitely still working hard and like I was doing well, getting good grades, but I wasn't really just putting myself out there or trying to do shows or anything. And then it came to second year university, and another person I want to shout out is Ian Jorgensen, who is one of the most respected people in the music industry in New Zealand. He's an absolute visionary. He had a festival called Campolo Hum, which I think is out I don't know exactly where it is, but it's in the greater Wellington region. He's done a lot of amazing things. He's now created this thing called the Deluge, which is this live synthesizer that you play on. He's a visionary. He's done a lot of crazy things. But essentially, he was my mentor, and I owe him a lot for where I've got in the industry and sort of him making me sure that I get my first leg up and all that sort of stuff. But we had a meeting, and he's like, all right, I think you need to start promoting and doing shows. And I was like, yeah, I'm really keen. And luckily, this is actually quite funny. All of Coastal Promotions' money, it all started with $1,000 from course-related costs. So the money that we have now, we've literally just started with that $1,000, did the first show, and just been flipping it, which is pretty crazy. Yeah, like a lot of people were like, "Oh, your dad must have invested. Do you have some investors, something like that?" Literally, it's all just been from that, which is
course-related costs.
Yeah, of course. So shout out to
the government.
Link. Yeah, shout out to thank you, Jacinda.
That's awesome. That's a bit of a case study, eh?
Yeah.
And for that first $1,000, what was that first $1,000 spent on?
So that was our first ever gig. So yeah, circling back to that, we essentially, he was like, "You need to start doing gigs." I was like, "Cool, I want to do this big hip hop show." And he's like, "No, that's not what you want to do. It will cost you a lot of money. It's riskier. What you should do is a drum and bass show. You're already DJing drum and bass yourself. Your mates do it. It'll be cheap. It will cost you like $1,000, if not less. Do that, and it will work." And I was like, "Okay." Did that, and it was crazy. Sold out in like 2 days or something like that. Because at the time, drum and bass was definitely, it's been big in New Zealand for years and all that sort of stuff. I'm not trying to say that we were like, help, but essentially what myself and other promoters did, or other student promoters, is sort of like help get it within the student scene. Like in Dunedin, before these guys like Halftime Oranges, which was the first ever sort of student drum and bass show in recent years. Before that, it was the music was just a bit interesting, and it was sort of like this wasn't much of a DJ scene, and then sort of they started doing gigs. This DJ scene became a thing, and then it sort of just started and snowballing into more and more shows and stuff like that. So essentially, we were sort of one of the first people to do like a for the students by the students gig, which was really cool, and it was just a lot of hype around it. And then so we started there, and then very luckily as well, another person I'd love to shout out is Ollie and Cam from 121. They've been instrumental in Coastal Promotions and everything that we've achieved and all that. So we had our first gig. They saw it was going well, and Ollie hit me up. He's like, "Hey man, I was Ollie from 121 here. I'd love to come down and check your gig out." He came down, was like, "This is awesome." And then they offered us a residency at the club because they were looking to activate midweek, so Thursday nights. And they were like, "Look, we've got this club. We're doing it Fridays and Saturdays techno. We'd love to do drum bass on Thursdays." So then we started Coastal Club Night, which again is a pretty amazing opportunity after you have one show and then a club comes to you and say, "Hey, we want you to create the student night." So that was phenomenal, and that went really well. I think we did like 15 of those overall. It was sort of bi-monthly, but just through COVID and stuff like that, it sort of just died out, unfortunately. And obviously Club 121's gone now, rest in peace.
Yeah. Great club. That was an awesome club.
That was awesome, yeah.
Shit, that's really interesting. So like basically the whole of the opportunity there for you was that midweek send for like students wasn't really getting, like there probably wasn't necessarily something which was really hitting there.
Yeah, so that was it. So they had like Wednesday shows at Betty's and stuff like that. It just wasn't really hitting the mark, and the music curation wasn't correct. So then we created this thing where it was like we were very like, I was a student at the time, so we were like booking student DJs who were just our friends, and we sort of created this culture. And that was the cool thing, is like drum and bass and sort of just DJ shows in general started becoming like a big culture within the student market, which before it was, but not as much. It wasn't as apparent.
That's super interesting, bro. And I guess I'm really keen to just understand your mindset from being, a second year uni student and being like, fuck it, I'm going to start running gigs and have a crack at this thing called Coastal Promotions. Like, I feel like a lot of different uni students who you would have been studying with in the same shoes as you, probably would have taken their time. I'm going to finish university first, earn these skills, get some networks, and then maybe have a crack at it, or maybe not have a crack at it at all. Yeah. So what set you apart from, I guess, your other peers in that way of actually like, I'm just going to give this thing a crack?
A lot of it was Ian. So I owe a lot to him. He's like, you need to start now. And then sort of like that first mindset that he gave me is encapsulated into what I do now for my guest lectures and stuff like that, is like, you have to seize the opportunity. So I was like, okay, I'm at university. I've got this $1,000 from the government. Let's start now. And the other thing as well is that I saw it in Dunedin. So they did this Halftime Oranges shows, which I mentioned previously. So I saw that and I was like, why don't we do that in Wellington? Like, there's such a gap in the market here. There's such an opportunity. And that was sort of it. And then like the first one just went well, and it sort of just started snowballing from there, and it started coming hype on it. So it was sort of just taking the leap of faith, essentially, is the best way to describe it. And I was just like, you know what, let's just give it a go. And like, because we were DJing flat parties and stuff, and we are sort of like, okay, we want to professionalize this. Like, I have mates like Willie Mav, who's now a very successful producer. He was, we were DJing at these shitty flat parties on Control, and we're like, no, we want to actually start playing proper shows. Like, there's talent here, there's opportunity here, there's demand here. And it was just about taking a leap and seeing how it goes. And yeah, it was amazing. And it was also because like I was at university studying it. It was sort of like the time is now. And every day I was going into uni and, we were learning all these new things about music. And I was sort of like, why be at a stalemate? Why don't you just give a leap and see how it goes?
And
seizing the opportunity as well.
Yeah,
is
bro.
my thing, yeah.
Hard out. And when I'm also really keen to understand when did things really start taking off for you? So you ran those 15 or so shows with.
So that like 15 across multiple years, because they were like one a month.
Yeah.
Oh, and I think we did 10 in the first. 10. Oh, we did 10 across a year or something like that. It really started taking off. So shows going well. We were selling out all these local things, and then we had these guys chemistry touring had us up who were from Australia and was like, hey, we're looking for a Wellington partner. So then we started doing international artists with them. And that's sort of when we started really making our way to be an established promoter. We started hosting all these international artists. Our first one was BC and LSB at Club 121, which was really cool.
Are you still at uni during this time?
Yeah, I was still at uni, yeah. So this was all within the space of a year. So our first international gig was in October. So we started promoting in May, and then our first international artist gig was in October, which was crazy. It was all happened very fast. It was all quite a quick rise and stuff like that. And then, yeah, sort of from there, we just started doing more and more shows. And then throughout 2019, we started hosting artists like K9 and K-Motions when they were big, but just starting to come up. So it's really cool. Like we've formulated relationships and friendships with those guys. K-Motions is one of my best friends. He lived at my house for 3 weeks when he was here on one of his NZ tours. I caught up with him when I was in Europe and stuff like that. So it sort of was like a perfect timing, perfect place, and then just sort of having the drive to do it as well. But yeah, that was sort of 2019's when things started taking off. Like that year, we did a crazy New Year's run. We played at Ribbon Vines, Ribbon Alps. We did Sound Splash.
Crazy.
Yeah, it was nuts. And then, yeah, it's sort of 2020 was obviously on and off because of COVID, but I don't know. It was still a good year, 2020, because the demand went crazy for shows when shows could be on. So yeah, but yeah, I'd say end of 2018 to 2019 is when it started really going off.
Yeah, I could only imagine how, especially as you're moving into this work full time, and then COVID hits.
Yeah,
how did you guys get through? Such
it was actually quite interesting. So I was just going to get a part-time job. I was like, I'll stay in Wellington for another year. That's when we just started actually our partnership with Audiology. So we work on a collaborative basis with them, doing their shows, their tours. We do the Wellington shows with them, and obviously we partner together on the festival, which is further down the track. But so I was going to get a part-time job, and then COVID hit, and another one. Shout out to the government. I pay my taxes though, so I get it back. But essentially, we had the money for like what was it called? Sorry, like the living.
Not the wage subsidy, was it?
Wage subsidy, yeah. So we had that. So that's sort of what kept us afloat all throughout 2020, which was really good. But yeah, it was definitely hard. But then it actually wasn't as hard as other people had it because we had shows again in June, and like we had shows for most of 2020, and like obviously 2021 stuff was on and off, but like we had a lot of freedom. We had a lot more gigs than most people did. So it actually wasn't as much turmoil as you would think it was, especially for like compared to other promoters and stuff like that. But yeah, the government subsidies really did help us. Like, the government get a lot of flack, and there was a lot of things they definitely did wrong, but stuff like that definitely helped the music industry keep afloat. They probably could have done more, but even like there was a time where there was not wage subsidies, and they came in and they started doing this thing that was directed directly at music and promoters and all that sort of stuff. So they did a whole range of things, which was really good. They created an organization called Music Help. So there was a lot of things there, a lot of support structures there. Yeah,
I remember post-COVID as well, because we obviously did that really hard and sharp lockdown. We were in like level 4 for what felt like half a year.
Yeah.
And I think then things started to open up, and they let go of some of those restrictions, and you could like go out and see your mates again and go to parties and go to gigs. I think I remember going to like Mardi Gras, and that might be like one of the first like big festivals.
That was in November, yeah. So they had to keep getting pushed back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and that was awesome.
Bro, and I'm sure you would have experienced this through the events that shortly followed after we were all free, but the feeling that everybody had, whether it was at, Mardi Gras or R&V, the first festivals and events back from being like locked out of society, basically. Like just that feeling people had, like it was like something I've never really experienced before.
It was a unison, I remember playing the first show. It was actually quite, it was good and bad. Our first show back, I was the headliner for it. It was one we did with Audiology. It was just like a localized thing, that sort of sub-brand that I created with them. And I was like loving it. I was finally up on stage, and then it was at Meow, and then this girl came up on stage and she wouldn't get off. I was like, please, I'm trying to play. And she was like, there's a bookcase at Meow behind, which is sort of like the facade. And she was taking these books and like just putting these books by the decks. And I was like, please.
Why was she doing that?
She was just super drunk, just like on the stage, just having fun dancing. I was like, please get off. Like, I've been waiting for this moment for so long. I want to play, like, please. And then
she's like, me too.
Yeah, she was just really drunk. And then was trying to tell Willie Mav, I was like, please get her off, and he just couldn't. I don't know what she was doing. I don't know what the security were doing as well. Like, we're paying them money. Like, Meow are great though. I love Meow. They're another people that venue are absolutely amazing. They're another people that have helped us so much. It was probably actually my fault for not putting a security guard side of stage, but either way, and that was funny, but the energy in the room was great. That's why I guess she was just having fun. She was having a bit of freedom. But yeah, the energy in the room was insane. And I didn't drink or anything throughout lockdown because like this is the time to take to have it off. So it was nice to just be back. Yeah.
Because I feel like everyone was drinking during lockdown.
I just had to stop. Like I sort of smoked a bit of weed at the time as well. I've quit that now as well. But I just like this is the time where I can just give my liver a bit of a break. But you know, lockdown was definitely tough. It was really tough. Like it was just so hard, you know, being on top of the world, and the company was really getting to where I wanted to be and all this sort of things. And then it was just like lockdown and it felt like dystopian, but it's all over now, and I feel like it's just a thing of the past, really.
Totally.
But obviously, it's a terrible thing that's happened. You know, I feel very bad for all the people that have lost family members and all that sort of things. And we're still feeling the economic impacts, but it's just nice to be out of that.
Totally. And just learning to live with it now. I also feel like people at the moment just don't give a shit.
Yeah,
anymore.
no one cares
like,
anymore, which I'm happy with. Like, I couldn't be fucked anymore. Right? That's all through like even that stuff in, was it 2022 or no 2021? Like that lockdown in August was just shit.
Hard out. Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
And there was so many stupid things, like how they ruined New Year's that year. And but that was actually good. We played Rolling Meadows Festival. Another person like to shout out Sub 180. We've done a lot. We've been working with them since the start.
How speaking about that lady who jumped on stage, you know, like how do you deal with I guess just drunk people at all your events? Like, has there been some horror stories?
Just security, yeah. Oh, yeah. There's definitely been some times. Like, there was this time that this girl fell over and bruised her face or something. Then she went up and tried to claim that she was assaulted.
Oh,
and
shit.
we obviously took that very seriously. I was like, oh my god, like we're sort this out right now. We're gonna kick this guy out. And then we reviewed the footage, and she'd actually fallen off. She's obviously a bit crazy.
Do you reckon she was like concussed and that's
Nah,
okay.
she's just a bit crazy. She used to go out with one of my friends and stuff like that. So we know who she is. Other horror stories, yeah, actually, this is a very crazy story. I'm happy we're talking about this. Well, it's sort of a sad thing as well, but third ever gig. Thing was going crazy, you know, as we went down to Dunedin, we're like, all right, sweet, we've done 2 shows once, and now let's go to Dunedin. This is sort of the mecca of student drum and bass and all that stuff. Went down there, did the show, it was awesome, and then these guys had a fight, and this guy actually got glassed in the head. It was crazy.
Shit, like bottled.
Yeah, bottled, yeah.
Shit.
And so the kid was pretty messed up. He had to go to hospital. The guy that did it actually ended up in jail because he tried to we pleaded not guilty. His lawyer directed him the wrong way, pleaded not guilty, but he's doing much better now. Jail actually really helped him a lot. But it was just crazy. So that was, you know, and we're like, fuck, do we even want to be promoters? Like, this is our 3rd ever gig. There's been a serious incident here. Like, it's crazy. And that was a very wild night. Heaps of shit happened. Like, girls got locked in the bathroom, and the bar owner had to like crawl through this like toilet up through the window, like scale a wall. And there's like lots of crazy. We definitely had some crazy things. Like, we did K9 at Shed 6, and this guy had a seizure, which was like really high. He'd never had a seizure before. I think he just like the light had caught his eye, and then he had a seizure. But then it actually the silver line of that was that he was really upset. Obviously, it was a pretty hectic experience for him. And then the medical room was next to the green room, so then we took K9. We brought him in to meet K9. And he was really happy about that. So that was a cool experience. But yeah, definitely, general drunk people was just sort of like being in the right headspace yourself and event managing the project managing the event correctly, and just keeping in communication with security. But all event security are really good. We've never had any that have been that bad. So yeah.
That's awesome, bro. Yeah, it's alcohol's such a weird thing, eh?
Yeah.
And it's like the more I'm sort of getting older, it's like the more I'm just very selective with the moments I also drink and like indulge
100%.
With alcohol.
Yeah. So yeah, I like for our events, I'll have a couple beers, just sort of like especially when I'm playing and stuff like that for the nerves sort of thing. But keep it pretty chill, and then won't drink in the week or anything. But I still enjoy myself.
For sure. And I was going to ask you that because you're basically living the life of like a modern day like rock star. You know what I mean? Like you're just basically traveling the country, hosting shows, massive gigs, festivals. What is that like? Just having the energy to keep showing up, because you know I'm sure like at these events you're the man. Everyone wants to talk to you, and you've got like, especially when you're performing.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, does that also take a toll on you?
A little bit, yeah. I think it's all just about keeping mental health right and like working out. So I know you're a runner. I love running. Running changed my life. Actually, when I was really young, I was severely overweight. I was like 120 kgs at like 10 or 11 or something like that. Ridiculous. So then I dropped down to 74 or something when I was running a lot.
That's incredible, bro.
Yeah, running's the main thing. So it's just like for me now, like especially quitting smoking weed and stuff as well really helped my mental health. So now like in the weeks, I'll pretty much just go to the gym, run, I have to work quite a lot as well because we're like the thing is you work in the day for all the admin stuff and then all the social media stuff you have to do at night.
Yeah,
Because
are you doing all of that?
Yeah, so I'm the one like I've got a business partner of mine, Ben, another guy I like to shout out, absolute legend. He's been with me since the start. Yeah, but he more just does operations for event management, so I actually do everything else. So yeah, it's sort of be like an 80-20 split is the best way to describe it. So. Yeah, but so in the week, it's just like, I don't really like, I used to go out to my mate's house quite a bit and smoke weed and stuff like that, but I've stopped doing that now and it's sort of been a bit more grounded. Like we'll go for a run at night, we'll work at night and that sort of thing. So yeah, it's just like finding the balance. But I think as well, it's just, my dad's got the same thing. I'm just very lucky to sort of just be born with quite good stamina. Not trying to sound up myself or anything like that. But I don't know.
Some people have it.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I'm not very good in the morning though, is the one thing. I'm quite bad at trying to wake up early and stuff like that. I still have to push myself to do it. Yeah. Definitely sleeping some days after we've been touring all weekend, but
totally bet.
But yeah, it's just good. And I love it. Like, I'm so grateful for this amazing life and amazing opportunities I have to be able to do such a cool job.
And only just getting started, bro. That's an exciting thing.
Yeah, I'm only 25, so there's much more to come.
That's awesome. I think when it comes to like physical fitness and just looking after your mental health, like I remember there was a moment probably like a couple of years back and I'd just be like looking across and seeing like a whole bunch of the boys, which I absolutely love, who were just like, parked up, smoke heaps of weed, drinking every weekend, just sucking on vapes. And like, there's no, like, of course you're going to feel like shit if that's what you're putting into your body. That's what you're treating.
100%.
And so, yeah, like I just feel, and personally, I feel so much better after I put my body through like strenuous exercise. Yeah. I'm just like not the same person.
Something that was really interesting that my uncle actually said to me, he's a very smart guy, doesn't drink or anything actually. He said that like, exercising is like, what was the word? It's like a working out your mind essentially as well. So it's like exercise is also exercise for your mind. It's not just for your body. So like, it's like training. It's like training your mind essentially. So it's just exercise is such an important part of life, and running as well. Being outside, being in nature. I love walking my dog and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I was in a similar boat, and this was actually something I found like when we were starting out. I was smoking weed all the time, just being quite lazy, not working out, and sort of like the quality of the shows were good, but I just wasn't putting enough effort. And now, like, I'm obsessed with it. Like, I'm like, I need to be there. I need to be there setting up and stuff like that. I need to be overseeing everything. I've become quite a micromanager now as I've gotten older and more mature and sort of just learned things as well, which is good. Because, at the start, I was a bit like, oh, we'll just get the production guys to set up. I'll rock up there like half an hour before, I was being a bit like, just a uni student mindset to it. But now, as it's my full-time job and I've grown older, I've just learned how important it is to have more of a balance and stuff like that.
Man's a professional. Yeah. So if we go back and what does your average week look like? If we talk about like routines, what is your sort of...
So wake up in the morning, I either go to the gym or for a run. Like I have a personal trainer as well, which has helped me a lot. Shout out to Luke, another person I like to shout out.
This might be the most shout outs. I love this. It's good.
Yeah, so he's a legend. So he's helped me a lot. I've actually been with him for about 6 months or so. But so pretty much wake up, either go for a run, go to the gym and alternate that. So it's like gym in the morning, run at night, or run in the morning, gym at night sort of thing. I also go and like go on the Stairmaster and bike and all that stuff. I'm trying to burn like 1,000 calories a day and all that sort of thing. Nice. Yeah, which is good. And then we'll be hopefully back at the office by like 8 or so, which is just my home office, my bedroom.
Yep. Have you got that like space set up nicely for you?
Yeah. So it's got a curved screen and stuff like that. So it's cool. And like a pretty decent sized bedroom. So it's good. And we'll just be working throughout the day. Like there's a whole range of things that you essentially have to do, but because I do everything, like I've got to do all the budgeting, I've got to do all the marketing, I've got to do all the logistics. So I've got to organize, I've got to book all the hotels, I've got to do all the flights, I've got to do contracting, I've got to do invoicing, I need to do all my own bookkeeping. I have an accountant and stuff like that, but it's every sort of aspect of show. And there's just a lot of logistics, there's a lot of talking to people and sort of just organizing things and that kind of things, calling people, negotiating with agents. So it's still like, it's pretty standard, like 9 to 5 sort of job. And then we'll finish at like 5 or 6, go for a run. And then I sort of have to work from sort of say 6:30 or whatever to 7:30, 8. And like I always like, I see the same thing with my dad. Like he's a knee surgeon. He works from like 7 in the morning till 7 at night. Then he'll get home, have dinner, have a run or whatever, and then he'll go on his laptop and keep working. So I've tried to like keep that mantra up as well. So
do you think you picked that trait of his intense work ethic? Do you think was that something you like was visible to you growing up?
Yeah, I see it and I'm like, it's inspiring. So I just try to follow suit. And yeah, it's really good. And then I like quite obsessed with it. And then, sometimes work is literally chatting to people on Facebook and like organizing, like, with audiology guys, we obviously talk on email as well, but lots just Facebook and stuff like that. So that would pretty much just be every weekday, really. Like, I don't have that much time to watch TV and stuff like that, but I'm quite obsessed with it. So it's cool. Like I'll stay up late, like, conceptualizing shows or doing new budgets or like, you know, talking to venues and stuff like that. And then sometimes throughout the week I go for like meetings at venues and stuff like that, which is really cool. And they'll pretty much be Monday to Friday. And then usually we'll either have a show, if we have a show on the Friday, then I'll fly to Wellington, do that show, or if it's in Auckland, but yeah, pretty much. And then the weekend will be a show. Or if it's not a show, I've always been trying to play golf on Sundays as well. Man. Like just being out in nature and active recovery and all that sort of stuff's really good.
Yeah, bro.
So,
Aren't you glad you didn't become a lawyer?
Yeah, very happy.
Imagine
man.
what your week would have been like.
I know.
If we were having this conversation and you were like some high like property lawyer or something.
Yeah, I would be an interesting life. But I'm very, very grateful for like, you know, it's pretty crazy to work in this space at such a young age and just for all the opportunities we had. But it's definitely been ups and downs. You know, we've had, you know, the thing about promoting is it's like gambling. You're literally like, okay, I'm going to put 20K on the show, red or black, may hit, may not. You never know. Like you obviously know it's a big artist and stuff like that. You know, we're doing Friction, which we knew would sell, sold out pretty much instantly and stuff like that. But it's always still a gamble. So it does take a lot of like, what's the word? Like, I don't want to say balls, but you know, it's like you got to be like, you know, be like, fuck, you know, sometimes we've lost a lot of money and stuff. Like we try to be quite inventive and do the show at this at the Auckland Museum, and that was really cool. But we just didn't sell enough tickets. It wasn't the right day and all that sort of stuff. And like we got killed by like a rugby game or something. It was a Blues final or something. And like shit like that, you know, we lost a decent amount of money on. There's shows that it just is what it is. It's all part of it, really. What
are those like key ingredients that you'll put into promoting a show for it to be successful?
So what we're doing now is Auckland, Wellington, we do more traditional shows. In Auckland, I'm sort of like, we got to this point where we were just doing drum and bass raves at this club called Pointers, which is awesome. But it was just rinse and repeat. And I got to the moment I was like, okay, I need to start thinking differently here. Let's flip the script. So
sorry, it's just picking up the bang.
Sorry, yeah. So I was like, let's flip the script. So essentially I was like, okay, we need to start doing multi-genre live music experiences, cool, unique venues that you flip into a live music space, you know, multi-genre lineups. So now like house music has really taken over in New Zealand. I love house a lot as well. So now we're just trying to, just do different things. So that's what we're doing in Auckland. It's like hip hop, D&B and house in one show, cool venues like Wyndham Pavilion, which is this really amazing seaside venue that doesn't have any, you know, you do a full production install. We do a cool show. There's Sweatshop Brew Kitchen, just cool, unique venues. So for shows like that, date's really key, like essentially, and actually in Wellington as well, date's always key. We try to use the university like dates as a Bible essentially. So it's like, okay, when are students here? When are they on holiday? All that sort of thing. So high tide is on the last day of exams for students.
So you're really strategic with
strategic planning with it. And like the idea is that for high tide is that it's like a final send for students at the start of summer festival. And it's sort of like the idea behind it is like, let's fill a gap in the market. But so date is super crucial. Date and lineup would be the most crucial things. Marketing as well. Yeah.
What goes into like good marketing for?
So now everything's changed into like digital marketing with like videos and stuff. So it's funny, like now you can literally just download phone apps. So I have these multiple phone apps that I use, and I just use old after movie footage and create like video ads with that. And I can do it in like half an hour myself. You know, not just.
Is that just on your phone?
Yeah, literally on your phone. It's crazy. So it's this thing called InShot. It's really good. One of my mates told me about it. They use a lot, and now like most of our marketing now is like video marketing that I literally just make myself, which is crazy because usually you'd have to pay people for that.
Totally.
But yeah, that's really important. And then just getting like for Facebook events are a really crucial thing in New Zealand music industry shows, somewhere like in the New Zealand music industry, like in Europe and stuff, people don't really seem to care about it. But here it's quite crucial, and it's sort of the main way that you market to people. And then if you have lots of interest on the event, like people going and stuff like that have clicked going, then it shows, it like showcases that your show is going to be successful and that people are interested in it. So we have like promo crews, which is sort of like the OG street crews, what people used to use, like people handing out flyers. We just have people sort of posting stuff on their Instagram story, posting the gig posters on their Instagram story, inviting people to the Facebook event and stuff like that. Just cool, innovative marketing. So like for High Tide, we've done stuff like we did a find a street poster and tag to win. So you'd post a photo. So we had all these street posters for the festival go out. You'd post a photo of it on your story and tag us, and then you go on the draw to win tickets, you know, stuff like that. Yeah, which is cool. It's like you need to think of organic ways you can organically reach people and get past algorithms and all that sort of stuff. But now Facebook and Instagram, they've just worked it out. So like if you want stuff to get reach, unless it's like sometimes you get lucky, you just got to pay for it. So we spend a lot on Facebook and Instagram advertising and all that sort of stuff. But
bro, it's fucking hard to like build up followings on Instagram. I've definitely found that with the podcast. Like it's a slow grind. We finally got past 1,000 followers.
Yeah, it's let's go, man. Yeah, congrats on that. No, I really love your guys' content as well. It's same buzz. It's like really nice, short and sharp. It's all video edited. It's really cool. It's really clean.
That's all thanks to Mr. Ashton sitting
Shout
behind
out
the
Rob
camera.
Behind the camera, yeah.
Wouldn't be able to do it without him.
Yeah, and about lineup as well, support lineups really important. So like what we love doing is providing people with their first ever show, as long as they're obviously up to scratch, but providing people with their first ever show and then
You mean artists?
yeah, that's support artists.
Support
so
artists.
providing them with their first ever show and then all their friends will come and support them. And it's just an amazing feeling to see how excited someone is. Like we get in Christchurch, did our high tide warm up down there last Friday, and these guys, it was their first ever set and they were just absolutely loving it. They were like, this is just the most amazing thing. Thank you so much. And that's really fulfilling, you know? I feel like life is another thing I want to talk about. Life's so about fulfillment now. And, you know, you don't really get fulfillment from material things. It's like doing cool things. Like for me, I was actually talking to my mates about this last night. It was quite interesting. Like, okay, you do a show, you'll sell heaps of tickets on launch. And it's not like, oh yes, I made all this money. It's like, yes, like my show's successful. It's going to be a great night. Like it proves that people are interested in it. It's just a cool thing. It's like fulfilling to know that people want to go to your event. It's not like, oh, I've made all this money. Great. It's like, obviously you need the money to keep going, but it's more just about the passion of providing such a cool experience to people and providing the opportunity for people to see an artist that they love.
Yeah, bro. So if we're talking about like fulfillment and like what fills up somebody's cup, like what keeps you going? What fills up your cup to motivate you to keep pushing and having that motivation to just, you know, take risks and keep hammering?
Just like successful shows, really. Just like, and I'm obviously there's the money side of things, but just like seeing like a show that's just sold out and people loving it and they have an amazing time. Say, hey, like or like the hype when you bring one of someone's favorite artists in the world, and like just like performances and stuff like that. And then for me, like the drivers, so I really want to be a hip hop promoter. So now it's sort of something that we're branching into more now. So we started out with this sub company called Costal Promotions, but we're just putting everything under Costal to be sort of a multifaceted music company, as I mentioned earlier. So it's just like the drivers that I want to do bigger and better shows. I see these crazy productions. I think it's like looking at examples of other leading industry leading things and being like, okay, that was insane. Let's try replicate that. So it's just always like a hunger for more and sort of looking at other examples of insane scale things and be like, okay, I want to try achieve that.
I think that segues really nicely into your flagship festival, High Tide, which launched for the first time last year.
Yeah.
Really, like that must be something which I'm sure when you started Costal Promotions was like, okay, bucket list, goal,
definitely.
you know, further on the track, we'll be hitting festivals, we'll be launching festivals, running them across the country.
Yeah.
What is that like running your first ever festival? And it was like a massive hit as well. And heaps of mates go there and just absolutely loved it. So what is that thought process like for you? Being like, okay, I'm going to put on, because that's such a next level above running events and gigs, right?
Yeah. It was the most incredible thing ever. It was the best day of my life. Like it was insane. And it was just like, we looked at it like from the start, we always want to do festivals. I owe a lot to the 121 guys as well. They were always motivating us, saying you should do a festival. That's a natural progression of a promoter. And obviously the person we owe the most, or the people we owe the most, Audiology, they were the ones who came in as a partner on the festival. We would never have had the investment to be able to do a festival ourselves. It cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. So, and obviously access to artists and just experience and all that sort of stuff. But it was a very surreal feeling. And like, you know, on the first night of last year, we sold 1,000 tickets and it was just insane. I was just so happy to see that we were providing Wellington with this festival that they've always wanted. And people were getting around it. But yeah, it was a pretty crazy feeling, especially on the day. I've never had a panic attack in my life until this moment, but everything's going well. Tickets were sold. It was all looking good. We were in the green, they'd broken even, all that sort of stuff. And then there was the weather was on and off saying it was going to be sunny or whatever. Thunderstorm and lightning, and I've never been so scared in my life. I literally was driving, picking up final stuff from the warehouse or whatever, pulled over, had a full-on panic attack in the car. Like I was just freaking out.
When you say a panic attack,
I was just hyperventilating. I don't know. Just this thing came over me, and I had all these people messaging the page. Is it cancelled? Is it going to be muddied? Are you selling ponchos? And I just couldn't deal with the stress. It was just crazy. And then just took a minute to breathe, and I was all right. Got back to the festival site, and then it was sunny, so it was great. And that was probably the luckiest I've ever been in my life. And literally didn't rain. It rained a bit in the morning, and there was thunder and lightning. It was crazy. That stopped, and then it was sunny the whole day. There was definitely clouds that came over and stuff, but it was pretty much sunny the whole day. And then it started raining at like 2 a.m.
Crazy.
The festival was over, so
bro, during that time I was doing this run called the Goggins Challenge. You run like 6.4K every 4 hours or 48
Shout
hours.
out to David Goggins.
Carry the fucking boats.
Yeah.
And I had a bunch of the boys running with me on one of the morning runs, I think at like 8 a.m. and they were going to High Tide.
Yeah.
And then as you said, it just started pissing down with rain, and a bunch of them were like, "Nah, fuck it, I'm not going to go."
Yeah.
Like they were completely on the
It
fence.
just ruins the festival.
And then the heavens opened up.
Yeah.
You must have been.
Oh,
you
it
must
was the
have been
best
stoked.
feeling there. That was literally the luckiest I've ever been in my life. Like, obviously, we're lucky the festival went well in regards to sales and just people getting around it, but like that was just crazy. So I'm hopeful this year we can just have Bluebird days. We'll see how we go.
Yeah,
but,
bro. Yeah, it must be such a key ingredient.
Yeah, but that was the scary thing is weather. But yeah, it was a crazy and it was insane. Like taking on a project of that size. Like I remember when we first did the budget and like they sent me the template. I just couldn't believe the amount of stuff that was on there. I was like, there's so much things I just don't even know about. And it was a lot of work. You know, it takes like a whole year pretty much. But that was the most fulfilling thing ever. And it's sort of like what my whole life, put everything into it, every cent I had, everything, and sort of all my effort, and it's what my whole life has led up to is this festival. So.
Where to even start? Like, what sort of coordination is involved with running a festival like that?
It's just
like,
insane. There's just so many logistics, and the problem with High Tide is that it's amazing location. It's literally like, and then so it's on the Petone foreshore, and it's a beautiful park. It's a tree line. It's next to the water, literally on like a beach. It's literally on the beach pretty much, but there's a park by the beach, and there's industrial buildings around, so we don't have noise complaints and stuff like that. There's not residents close by, but it is sort of out of the way, so we have to provide transport there. Like my friends run a festival called Baseline in Dunedin, which was another motivating factor for me to get started with the festival stuff. And their festival is literally like in the student quarter, so transport, you just walk there. Perfect. We have to organize buses, and that is just a nightmare in itself. But yeah, there's just so many logistics to go into it, and that's why I'm very lucky to have Audiology, who absolute pros in the festival business. They've been doing it for 10 years, so they know what they're doing. But yeah, there's just it's hard to explain really, but there's just so much that goes into it, so much logistical planning, so many different suppliers you have to work with, and so many factors you have to consider.
Yeah. What and who's doing like the event management? Is that you?
That's me and Audiology Luke. Yeah. So Luke is the Luke. Shout out to Luke. Another shout out. He's the general manager of Audiology, and he's their main event manager. So he's the main event manager, and then I would be sort of the secondary event manager, essentially. That's the best way to describe it. But then I do majority of the marketing and stuff like that. Yeah,
that is crazy. And we'll just do a plug as well. The dates for High Tide,
Saturday, 4th of November. It's going to be an amazing open air 2-stage festival at the Water's Edge. We hope to see all you guys there. It's an amalgamation of Costal Promotions, Audiology's journey in Wellington. It's Wellington's only festival, and essentially central Wellington that has international artists. And yeah, it's just a massive landmark event for Wellington, and we're really proud of it, and we really hope to see as many of you there as possible.
A question I've always wondered when it comes to festivals: how many drinks do you have to order, and how is that managed?
So it's sale or return, so it's actually quite easy. But yeah, you work with like a supplier like Gilmore's or something, and then you'll actually just get like a chiller truck. But yeah, you order thousands and thousands of cans, but then you just have them in a chiller truck, and then whatever you don't sell, you just return to them.
Oh,
so it's nice and easy.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay, I've always thought that.
But yeah, you just overestimate heaps, and like we actually sold a decent amount. We didn't have that. Maybe had like 3 or 4 pallets left or something. So we just returned those, and it was easy.
Yeah. And I guess like the worst thing ever for running a festival would be if you run out of drinks.
Yeah, literally. So you just never want to do that. And I've seen that happen in a few festivals, really. It was crazy. But so we work with Multi Events, who are like a festival company essentially, and they work with R&V, they do all Audiology's events, and they run the bar for us.
I'm sure, especially running High Tide, it's such like to get repeat customers, you have to make sure you like absolutely nail that first festival experience.
Yeah, so that was like the one thing that we sort of did wrong. Well, it was always going to happen. It's like we could only get one bar with the license and all that sort of stuff. And then like it was a massive bar, and it was actually like split into 2. So there was 2 separate lanes and stuff like that. But it just ended up being taking too long to get drinks, and then they had to take the police, like, you have to take this down to, like, there's a lot of drunk people out there, you're gonna have to take this down to 1 drink per person. So then people were waiting at the peak, it happens at any festival, people waiting 30, 45 minutes for 1 drink. And so we had a few complaints about that, but nothing major. And most people were like, that was absolutely amazing, we're definitely coming back and all that sort of stuff. But this year we've got 2 bars, which is great. So
awesome.
It's crucial. I really wanted 2 bars last year, but it was a staffing issue as well, which is just something that's affecting all of New Zealand, is a staffing issue. So
could you guys do, because I know some festivals and they've sort of opened up like the regulations around it, like could you do the free drug testing there as well?
Yeah, I do actually want to do that. I don't know if we'll do it this year, but yeah, I don't know what the cost and stuff is, but I might actually look into that. It might not be too late. I would love to do it. I think it's very important for us. It's all about, we want to create, like, High Tide is an all-inclusive, safe festival environment, and we want to welcome people that share our vision. That's the whole point of it. So having things like that is really important, because it's like, you know that you're going to be safe. So yeah, that's something that I was meant to do, haven't done yet. I need to look into it. But yeah, I'm just not sure. I think it might be quite expensive as well. I think it's around 5K, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not too bad. It's worth it for the safety of it. But yeah, I've just never dealt with it. We were going to think about it last year, but I think it's pretty important.
Yeah.
But we have obviously the ambulance, and we have like, hydration tents and all that sort of stuff. And we've got shade areas and water, like, 5,000 litre water tanks and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I think Know Your Stuff is a very great initiative. So
hard out. Awesome organisation, eh?
Yeah.
I just hate the people that are like, oh, if you're doing drugs, you shouldn't fucking like, who cares what's in it? Like,
that's ridiculous.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
people
like,
want to know. Yeah, so I think it's good. I think, well, hopefully we may not have it this year, but we're definitely going to have it.
Yeah, man, that'd be an awesome move. That'd be really cool.
No, it's really important. It feeds into our whole festival ethos, really. So.
What will the like? This is also something I want to talk to you about. Like, how do you also reward yourself after pulling off an event like High Tide?
Oh, it was actually quite funny. We had obviously had a big party and stuff like that with some of the artists, and then the next day we were out having a couple drinks, celebrating, and then in the Wellington waterfront they've got that wharf thing that you dive off. My mate's like, just do it, dive off the wharf, I was like, all right then, sure. I know that's how. Like, this is my business partner Benny's like, that's how I wanted us to celebrate. You have to dive off the wharf, and I literally didn't have. I had to go back to the Airbnb we had like in these wet shorts and a towel or anything. But that was pretty funny. But yeah, it was just like pretty much just celebrating. Had a drink with the team, and I guess you'd say we just partied and just celebrated and just basked in it all. It was amazing. Like, to be honest, I almost cried at one point when I was walking around the festival. I just couldn't believe it. Like the scale of it. And yeah, it was just
how
insane.
many people were there?
3,800 last year. This year we're aiming for about 5, if not more. So we'll see how we go. It's already sold 3,000, so it's looking really good.
Amazing, brother.
Yeah.
When it comes to the future direction of High Tide and Coastal Promotions, where do you want to take this thing?
We essentially just want to become one of the main promoters in New Zealand. I think we already are. Not to try too much or anything, I think we've definitely become one of the biggest promoters in Wellington and the Greater Wellington region, which I'm very proud of. But yeah, and just diversifying bigger artists and diversifying more into house and hip hop. So for me, I really want to become a big hip hop promoter. That'd be my absolute dream, to host people like Joey Badass and Freddie Gibbs and stuff like that. Yeah, been very lucky to meet Freddie a few times. But stuff like that, Flatbush Zombies and just Vince Staples, Action Bronson, all these type of rappers that I like. I'd love to get into that field. UK people as well, like AJ Tracy and stuff like that. And then, yeah, I'm just trying to do cooler different things. So like one thing that fed into our whole sort of ethos of doing unique live music experiences, we did this thing called Soundscapes, where we activated this warehouse space called Brad's Warehouse, which is an amazing 750 cap warehouse in Auckland CBD. We're the only promoters that have ever done a proper show there. And it was just, that was really cool. So it was just like creating really cool different things like that. I sort of want to be quite innovative in New Zealand and do things that are reminiscent of Europe and stuff like that. But yeah, it's sort of just bigger and better, and just being innovation is key. So what else can we do? Different warehouse parties, activate different spaces, just do things that sort of blow people's minds. And that's something that we've been like inspired by people like 121 and Audiology, who are always sort of pushing the curve and stuff like that.
Would you ever look to move like High Tide eventually to be like a multi-day festival?
Oh yeah, so circling back to how we want to expand High Tide, I don't know if I will, like, someone actually asked me this because I did another interview which was just for the Massey Student Magazine about High Tide, and like, I don't know, potentially, but I almost think the beauty of High Tide is 1 day, so that makes it more inclusive, because if we made it 2 days, then it's like trying to get people from work after work on a Friday, or like they have work. So I think it's just keeping it as a big 1 day festival, but it's expanding it. Like, that site has so much depth. You could put 10,000, 15,000 people there if you expand into the rugby fields outside the part that we use, which is like the dog walking area.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just what's workable with the council and stuff like that. The council are quite worried about how many people how many people can actually get in and out of the space. So, but yeah, the idea is to try to build it bigger and better. And I just want to get big artists. I want to have like ASAP Rocky and stuff on there, Fisher, Lake, yeah.
So yeah, speaking about like dream guests or dream international artists to collaborate with, who are some of them?
Definitely Fisher and stuff like that. Like Freddie Gibbs, of course, Joey Badass, Flatbush Zombies. People I mentioned earlier, like in the more electronic realm, Fred again would be pretty crazy. Skrillex. Like, I'd love to host some of these bigger names. Chris Lake's up there as well. There's this really cool guy coming through called Mal P, who's like a techno house sort of guy. He's one that we're trying to work on for next year. I'm trying to think who else. Kate Trinata. That would be
sick.
That's something that I want to try to push for. But it's quite hard with bigger artists like that. They usually just play with Live Nation, because that's just how they do it over the world.
What's Live Nation?
Live Nation's the biggest concert promoter in the world. So they own part of R&B and stuff like that, but they're just like established all throughout the world. And they do people like any big arena tour will be with them, is the best way to describe it. They're the biggest promoter in the world. But I'd love to do like John Summit. He's a like absolute legend house artist. He's one of the biggest in the world at the moment. Stuff like that. So Yeah, but if a high tide, yeah, I'd love to get people like Fisher and just these bigger names and sort of just like make it bigger. But yeah, all within like I don't want it to be too commercial. So with like bigger names, but nothing. I wouldn't get like any pop or anything like that.
Yeah.
It had to be like a big house, big techno, big rapper or something like that.
Yeah, bro. Yeah. When it comes to your relationship with Freddie Gibbs as well, I know you've met him a few times. Can you speak us through the story of how you've gone about?
It's crazy, yeah. So he's my favorite musician in the whole world, and it was crazy to meet him because he was such a nice guy, and it was mental. Like it was just crazy even being in the same room as him. But essentially, this is sort of part of where my music journey started. Is when I was in year 12, starting going to gigs and stuff like that. And I remember I was just on SoundCloud, heard a song by him called Robes and Earl Sweatshirt and Domo Genesis, and I was like, who is this guy? This is insane. When this was out, I became obsessed with him. I was like, this is like some of the best music I've ever heard. And then back in the day, it was quite a common thing to create pages. Like this guy did Bring Schoolboy Q to New Zealand, and then it was like one of the So then I did Bring Freddie Gibbs and Mad Lib to New Zealand, and it ended up like it was paid pardon. I remember I was messaging him on Instagram, and he's like, "I want to come, and just has to work for promoters and stuff like that."
True.
Yeah, it was crazy. And then it just ended up happening, like you know, obviously I think it was always going to happen, but we were just a small contributing factor in it. And then I got very lucky. I went to the show and stuff like that. And then a friend of mine, his sister, they met him at a bar. Her and her friends met them just like they were just randomly at a bar the night before. So then they were backstage, and then she's like, "Oh, the guy who created the page is downstairs. Can he come up?" And he's like, "Yeah, of course you can." And then I went up with him, like smoked some blunts and shit. It was crazy.
Bro,
like, yeah.
What's it like chilling with
it was
Freddie
nuts,
Gibbs?
man. It was crazy, and he's such a nice guy. I was interested in just talking to him about everything, and like he found it pretty crazy as well that like, you know, how much of a big fan I was and stuff like that. And then we like went to this gig down the road. This arcade is this real cool skate brand. They're running a gig in there. And then the other times I met him was we were playing RNA together, and I just came and like knocked on his door, and a security guard came and was like, "Who are you?" And I was like, "Oh, like, I know Freddie met before." And he's like, "Yeah, you can come in." So it's cool.
So like he recognizes you. He knows you.
Yeah. And then I met him another time. I was in America. He was playing this boat party, and we went there.
Like, how the fuck is this guy showing up everywhere?
I know, it was crazy. The story continues. And then so we were on the boat, and then he was up in like the captain's room, and he had to come outside to smoke a blunt or whatever. So then, and he walked past, and sort of like we were there, and we'd met this random American guy we were just talking to, and like he walked past, and he looked at me and like smiled and shook my hand. And it was the American guy was like, "Holy fuck, man! Like, does he know who you're?" Like, what the? It was crazy. And then the other time I met him, I was in America again, and he did like he's acted in the movie, which is an amazing movie called Down with the King. It's definitely something I suggest to watch.
Yeah.
And I went to his movie premiere, and I went up to him after, and I was like, "Hey man," gave him a couple records that I bought him of his favorite rapper Scarface, which was really cool. And then the most recent time I met him, which is actually this is what probably
heaps of times.
Yeah, so I've met him 4 or 5 times. This would be the craziest one when we actually did a very good yarny. So he recognized me and shit. I was in Europe this year, and I went to Hideout Festival in Croatia, and I'm good mates with Lude. He's got that song like Down Under and all that sort of stuff. He's a big drum and bass artist. So he got me an artist band to Hideout. And then I was in Portugal, and I went to go see Freddie, and my other mates had already gone down. So it was in Lisbon, and my other mates had already gone down to Lagos, and I stayed because it was also my uncle-in-law was having a birthday party in Lisbon. And then so I'll stay for that, and I saw Freddie was playing. So I just went to the festival by myself to go watch him. Favorite artist, you know, had to go do it. And had the artist band, had like the normal band for that festival, and had the artist band. And then after he played, like, you could sort of see into the backstage area. And so I remember I just walked up to the backstage and showed them the artist band. The lady sort of looked at it, she's like, because it wasn't the right band. She's like, "Artists go through."
No way.
Yeah, it was crazy. I was like, "Let's take a punt." So then I walked up to him. I was like, "Hey man," he's like, "Yeah, I remember you, bro." He's like, "What the fuck are you doing in Portugal?" Like, it was so funny, and it was awesome. We just had a yarn talking. He's like, "Yeah." And he's like, I was showing him photos when we first met. He's like, "Bro, when I first met you, were a kid." And he's like, "Oh man, like I appreciate it a lot." And I was talking to him about coming back. So he's someone we're really trying to get for future.
Bro,
So,
I'm sure you'll nail that one.
Yeah, I think it will come through. But yeah, just it's hard. The hip hop stuff's hard, man. But we're working through. So we're doing Unknown T, which is our first proper hip hop international in October. And we're also doing, it hasn't been announced yet, but it's announcing next week. Souls of Mischief, who are like an absolute legendary 90s hip hop act. So pretty stoked about that. So it's all starting to come together.
Crime pays. That's incredible, bro.
Yeah.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, it's nuts, man.
I just had another question that was just flown by me.
Nah, it's all right.
Oh yeah, moving from Freddie Gibbs, you were also overseas at Coachella.
Yeah,
I'm keen to talk to you just a bit about meeting Fisher and what that experience was like.
So very luckily, obviously a mutual friend of ours, Ruben Godfrey, so his older brother. Yeah, shout out to him. Louis Godfrey, big fucking shout out to him. That guy's a legend. So he works for Fisher and how he got the job was pretty cool. He just met him. They were at Riverman Alps and they saw Fisher on the street. So they're like, come in our van, mate. We'll take you there. He's like, yeah, I'll get in there, boys. Got in there. They were filming it and stuff. And then he applied to work for Fisher. They loved him in the interviews. He got the visa work through. So now he's one of his tour managers. Has the best job in the world. It's insane.
Crazy.
And he's an absolute legend. And so we're at Coachella. My whole family went. My mum and dad and stuff came. I went obviously with them, but then I had a few friends that were there as well.
What's it like going to Coachella with your family? That must be
it was
pretty
awesome,
cool.
bro.
It's
Yeah,
awesome.
it was cool. But it's an amazing festival. It's definitely the best festival in the world. It's always sunny. It was a surreal experience. I've been twice actually, which was really cool. But so then he was like to the girls, oh, I've got like a surprise for you. Come to this location at this point at this time. So we went there, and then he comes through with all these bands like you're going on stage with Fisher, and it was just absolutely insane. Like looking at 100,000 people. It was Fisher and Chris Lake, and it was just like the craziest experience I've ever had being on stage with that. It was awesome. Yeah, it was crazy. I think like Anderson .Paak was up there. Like it's like they were here, and then like they were here, and then it was sort of like a big crowd behind them. And yeah, it was just dancing. That was insane. And yeah, Fisher's a really nice guy. I actually met him. The first time I met him was when I went to Coachella. The first time. That's another pretty crazy and funny story. My friend's a model in New York, and she got us into this insane after party at this place called Zenyara. It's like this mess of the craziest estate I've ever seen. It'll be like a $500 million so something just ridiculous. It's like it's huge, it's crazy. Like it's like a resort, but it's like this person's like house, like Gigi Hadid or something stayed there. It's like something
shit. It's
crazy. ASAP Ferguson, they have like after parties and stuff there, and we went there. She got us in, which was nuts. And then we went there, and then we saw my brother was like, "Is that Fisher?" I was like, "Definitely." He's like, "Nuts." I was like, "Fisher, man." He's like, "That boys." He's like, "What the fuck are you Kiwis doing here?" Like I just couldn't believe that we were there, and it was real funny. And then just talked to him briefly. We went to Coachella the recent time, but yeah, being on stage for him was nuts, man.
Right, it must be insane to be someone like Fisher, where you're like just that feeling of like ecstasy every time you perform.
Literally, yeah.
I wonder if it sort of goes away because like whenever you see him perform, he's like got so much.
Yeah, I think that's just him.
Up.
He's just one of those people that just like loves it. Like same for me. Like I love performing. Like DJing, I do on the side, and I've you're a great DJ. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. I put promoting forward. And like with DJing, you have to if you want to be an actual artist, you have to be a producer and stuff like that. Yeah. And I gave that a good hack. Very luckily had an amazing teacher of Tom Lee from Lee Matthews, who we had some really good times. We actually made some good tunes, but it just wasn't for me. I put the time into it, but I wasn't putting enough effort in, to be honest. So, and I was more focused on promoting as well. So now sort of like, I used to want to be like, I need to be playing R&B. And we have played R&B before. I need to be R&B every year, all that sort of stuff. But I've sort of taken that ego side of things out now. I'm like, I'll play my own shows, have fun with that, play for other shows if they book me. I'll even DJ house and stuff now because it's a bit of fun. And then, but not if I do like a proper worthy set, it'll just be drum bass. But now just more focusing on promoting, which is really good. So,
and with Fisher, is he like as you would expect him in real life?
Yeah, he's a legend, man. He's just like, look like young boys. He's just like he's a funny dude, man. He was just like like ecstasy is like he was super full of life and vibrant and really nice guy, like super cool and just loving it. And yeah, he's just living the dream. Now he's one of the biggest artists in the world. It's insane. So hopefully one day we'll book him. I don't know if it will ever happen. It probably won't, but maybe if High Tide gets big enough, it's potential. But mate, he'd be like $1 million a set.
Fuck, that would be insane.
Yeah,
2 degrees of separation though.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah. That's absolutely incredible.
Yeah, it was nuts, man.
All right. Has there been any international acts or celebrities that you've met that kind of lowered your expectations of what they would be?
Yeah,
like?
It was hard. It was tricky meeting Joey Badass, because we met him at Rolling. I met him, it's funny. So I met him twice. The first time I met him, we were in America, and me and my mate drove from New York to Boston to go see him for his first show of his 1999. It was last year. It was 1999-2000 tour. Amazing. Bought VIP. It was like $25 for a ticket, or like $80 for a meet and greet. So like US was like, fuck it, perfect. Met him, real nice guy, and then met him again at Rolling Meadows, and like he was nice, but he just, I don't know, he just didn't seem like he had that much time for me. And I was sort of like, mate, I'm not just a random here. I gave him a Ponamu and stuff as well, and he was still nice, but I think he was just a bit like rushed and stuff like that. Maybe he wasn't that happy about the set or whatever. But I've met his DJ a few times, Powers Pleasant, as part of Beast Coast, and he was a legend. I had a really good talk to him. But it was funny because I was on right after him, so I was like 10 minutes late to my set because I was there talking with him and stuff. But it was cool. But it was definitely like, he's one of my favorite artists in the whole world. So I was just a bit upset that he wasn't as much of a nice guy as someone like Freddie Gibbs or someone like was. Yeah.
Never met your heroes, eh?
Yeah, but then I met Freddie and he was the man. I met Skepta when I worked at Beijing, and he was an absolute legend. That's and I luckily ran into him a few times at the hotel because I was working for Gunner as his like artist liaison and driver, which was cool. Yeah, that was cool. He was a nice guy as well. Joe was still a nice guy. I just thought he would be a bit more
mellow.
Yeah, he was almost he was just sort of like, oh, he just didn't seem to care that much. Which I understand he's a superstar, but it's like this guy's come here to give you a gift from New Zealand. He's an actual artist at the festival as well. But
yeah.
I think he was just having an off day, bro. He was still like when we met him in New York and stuff. He's still a nice guy.
Yeah. Has there been any interesting like or strange requests as well from dealing with international artists? I remember hearing
Gunnar was like, he had so like I got them so that I had to get them weed. Took him a half ounce. He's like, it's not enough. I need more. So I was like, try to get them all this shit, and then they were trying to expect me to pay for it, and I was like, nah, like you've already been given your half ounce by the festival. Like if you want more, like it's coming out of my pocket. You guys need to pay for it.
Yeah.
And then he had like 5 bags, like 5 suitcases. I had to keep going to the car and grabbing more suitcases. And this is right after New Year's, like right after when we did this. That's when we played R&B and RNA, went to Hidden Valley and went to Northern Bay. So it was like the craziest week ever. I was pretty tired. I felt like I was going to fall asleep at the wheel, to be honest. But pushed through for a couple of Red Bulls. But then he like kept making me go to the car and he changed outfits 7 times. He's like, okay, I need a pair of scissors. Then he goes there and gets his pair of scissors and cuts the arms off his t-shirt. He's like, oh, I'll wear this. Like, so that was quite interesting. But yeah, like riders and stuff wise, no, I've never had anything too crazy.
Yeah. I was hearing like a clip of a podcast with one of the owners of R&V. I think it was R&V, and it was when they had like Chance the Rapper on, and apparently his like special request is always to have like a Big Mac or something from Macca's.
Right. Yeah.
And so they're like, shit.
Yeah, I think we've had.
How are we going to do this?
We've had some interesting ones. Like people wanting like someone wanted like this like glucose like sachet thing. And I was like, fuck, like I don't know. Yeah, but haven't had anything like too nuts. But it's real funny when like some people. Example, who's an absolute legend. Shout out to Example, Elliot. It's pretty crazy. Like meeting him as well. He was so cool. We went out for dinner and stuff when he was here earlier this year.
That's awesome.
That was amazing. His ride is real funny though because it's like 3 bottles or whatever, and then I was like, "Is he actually drinking them?" And him and his mates actually powered through them. So I respected that. But it's funny when like artists request stuff and they don't actually even drink it.
Yeah. A lot of this also seems like just solid relationship building too,
Definitely.
bro. Like, is that such a massive part of being a
promoter?
promoter?
100%. You've got to like become friends with everyone. Like we're hosting Inja tonight for our High Tide Woman. He's become a good friend of mine over the years, and he's just a legend. Like I just enjoy spending time with these people. Like they're very good people. Everyone on the drum bass scene's really nice. So yeah, it's definitely relationship things and like just trying to get more. That's for us. So like I've become quite good friends with Example. So now I was talking to his agent. I was like, I want to become. And really, it's going to happen. It's like we want to be the main guys for him in New Zealand. We want to be hosting him in Auckland and Wellington. I want to like consistently because he's not playing enough in New Zealand, which is weird, but he's playing in Europe all the time. You know, he's had a massive resurgence. So stuff like that, yeah, just always trying to build relationships. And it's not just with artists, it's with agents, it's with suppliers, it's with venues, like all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
So important, eh?
Yeah. It's a very relationship-based business.
Yeah.
Even with other promoters as well. Like, a lot of promoters are sort of like, oh, I won't work with this person, I won't work with that. Like we're quite open book and we work with a whole range of people. Like, and that pisses some people off. I'm like, whatever. And it's also because it's in Wellington. It's like in Auckland, people sort of have their own turf, and Wellington it's quite an open market. So yeah.
Well, you're doing a fucking incredible job, bro.
Thank you, man. I love seeing it. And thank you so much for having me on, man. I've really, really enjoyed this. It's really good to talk with you and stuff like that. It's cool, man. It's a really amazing opportunity. So,
dude, it's awesome. Have you done a podcast before?
No, it's been my first time. So,
hey,
yeah,
I love that. I love that. It's awesome. Yeah, man. I love seeing other young fellas just absolutely going out there and smash it.
Yeah, so. Man. It's just like you're at the age where you need to seize the opportunities. You know, and life is what you make it. I remember I was talking to one of my mates. They're like, "Wow, like." You know, you're traveling a lot, like, you know, all this sort of stuff, like how you do it. I was like, he's like, it's crazy. I was like, mate, life is what you make it. It's like, you know, I'm very blessed as well. I'm very appreciative that, like, you know, how things have worked out, how they were. You know, I don't want to blow smoke up my own ass or anything, but it's definitely, it's luck. It's definitely worked on stuff. It's definitely a lot of luck and just like lucky opportunities and right time, right place, and a whole range of different
with
things.
With a combination of hard work.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think you always got to be super appreciative and just humble and stuff like that. And it's something that I want to continue for my whole life. It's
dude, 100%. And you meet those people who have sort of like lost touch of their roots and where they came from. And like when you look at those people and you talk to them, you're like, fuck, man, you've totally just lost touch in reality.
Definitely. And that was like meeting Skepta. It's like he's one of the big stars and he was the nicest guy ever. And he's like he's still the same guy, you know. Same as like somebody like Dimension, Subfocus, they're all absolutely lovely people. And like, you know, Dimension's a good mate of mine. We still talk stuff like that. You know, it's just there's people there. Most people like don't let the ego get the most of them. So it's great.
I was having a thought today while I was driving. I was listening to a podcast and, you know, because we're both 25, you know, we're young, we're in our primes basically.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, like, how much would we pay? Let's say we're 50 years old. How much would we pay when we're 50 to go back to this time in this period of our life right now? would probably pay like a crazy amount of money.
Definitely.
Like, especially when you reach your old age. So it's like just being so appreciative in the
100%.
moment for like,
like in terms of like where you'd pay that to go back for
to
like
go
a
back
day
in
or
time.
something.
Yeah. To like live like a year being 28 or 25
that would be
again.
insane.
Like the amount of money you probably couldn't even put a price tag on that.
Definitely, yeah. It's actually an interesting one. So if you know Top Boy, that TV show, Ashley Walters, the main guy, Duchesne, legend. He did an interview. He's talking like, obviously he's had his trials and tribulations, been in jail and stuff like that, and he's like, he's like, if I could go back in time and change it, I wouldn't, because what you've done, like, so I think I'd definitely do that when I live that experience, but I'd try to keep things the same, because essentially his mantra was that everything happens for a reason, and like, whatever, all the ups and downs all build to where you are in life now.
So true, bro.
But I definitely agree with that. It'd be meant to just have those experiences, and
And just before we wrap things up, how do you personally like invest in your own personal development?
I think it's just looking at yourself and being like, okay, what can I do better? And like, that's why the health and wellness side of things comes. It's like, I'm trying to really like get my body better, get my mind right, and it's been like looking at other, and I think it's looking at examples of other people. Like, okay, there's this there's this big brand in UK, DMB All Stars, and they just, or even like Herman Skip the Boat. Shout out to him as well.
Shout out Herman.
Who you had him for, like, just looking at like people that are quite visionaries in their field and be like, okay, I want to try not replicate them, but I want to be innovative like them. So I think it's sort of looking at examples of other things, and just sort of just taking time to ponder and think, how can I develop myself, develop my business, develop my all that sort of thing. Yeah.
Before we wrap up, some quick fire questions and a quote. Where can people stay in touch with you and your mahi, bro?
So just hit us up on Costal Promotions 47 on Instagram or on Facebook. I've got my own Instagram, but can hit me up on there, Charles_Clats. Worthy NZ's my artist page. But yeah, just Coastal Promotions and High Tide NZ. Just follow our Instagram page is the best way to keep in touch with us.
Awesome, bro. And links in the description whether you're watching or listening to this episode. Clats, what brings you true happiness?
I'd just say, as I was talking before, fulfillment, man, like creating these experiences for people and just sort of like looking like I pulled off an amazing show. And like, obviously, as I said before, the money's one thing, but it's just like creating amazing experience for people and giving people opportunities as well. So like, as I spoke to before, giving someone their first ever set, they had the best time of their life. I just want to be an opportunity creator, and I just want to be an experience creator, and just sort of like make unforgettable memories for people. So yeah, that's sort of what makes me happy in life, really. Yeah.
Fucking love that. Ashton, clip that.
Awesome.
Advice you wish you knew about when you were younger?
I think sort of like take things a bit more seriously. I think when you're a kid, well, it depends, like when you're like sort of when you're like 12, but I think in high school, I sort of flipped on, but then like, yeah, when I was sort of from like, year 7, year 8, I know you're still a young kid, but I think I just didn't take things seriously enough. I wasn't trying at school and shit like that. I did start trying at school in high school, but I think, yeah, just sort of try to take things a bit more seriously and just sort of try develop yourself so you can be better when you're older. And then even like in university and stuff like that, like I think I spent a bit too much time dicking around. So obviously, everything's gone really well, but I think it's just trying to take things a bit more seriously when you're young and be like, thinking more longevity. But it's hard, you're young, you're a developing mind and stuff like that. So it's not easy to sort of be like, oh, this is where I'm gonna be in 5 years if you're just, you're just a first year uni student, you want to have fun. But yeah.
What does legacy mean to you?
I think legacy means like obviously creating a mark and stuff like that, but it's just like, as I said before, like creating great memories in people's minds about you and things that you've done for them. It's like just being known as someone that, as a generous person, has like done a lot of good. And I think, yeah, like legacy equals good in my opinion. It's like you don't want to have a bad legacy. So legacy to me is sort of like you need to create a good legacy where you're like being remembered for positive things.
How you make people feel like.
Yeah, 100%.
If you could change one thing in New Zealand, what would this be?
More venues. More venues, man. If we had places like Printworks and stuff over there, it would just be insane. Man, the demand for it, but yeah, more venues. And I think just there's a lot of fucked up things going on industry wise of like, there's a lot of bad people out there with like, there's a lot of things going on with like, sexual assault and stuff like that. So I really wish that wasn't such an apparent thing in this modern day and age and all stuff. It's such a shame. And I just, some people are just sick in the head, I guess, but it's a big thing. And like, yeah, I just wish that there was more, what's the word? I think there was more consequences for that. And I just wish it wasn't such an apparent thing really. But yeah, and yeah, more venues.
Totally agree, bro. What do you believe is the main thing that is holding back young people in New Zealand?
I think it's like, it really depends on your situation. So it's a hard one, but like situational things, one thing, but I think it's probably social media is a problem. Like I'm severely addicted to Instagram. I'm happy to admit that. But
I think we all are, right?
Yeah, so, it's just like, I think people are like, as I said, I'm talking about comparing to other people and stuff like that before, but that's like looking at it from a business side of things. I think people are sort of like too caught up in trying to be this person that they're not, or sort of look a certain image or look a certain way, when it's like, just be what makes you happy and be yourself, and like just try to be a better person and try to better yourself. And like, it's pretty fundamental, like what things like what's good for your body and stuff like that. So I think, yeah, people get a bit too caught up on what they want to be, and not what they need to be.
Love that. Well, brother, just to wrap up again, really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you so much for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
We'll have to do another one again.
Yeah, definitely.
In a few years, and reflect back.
100%. Yeah, no, that'd be
100%.
great.
Yeah, man, really appreciate it. And we'll end on a quote from Mark Zuckerberg, of all people. The biggest risk is not taking any risk. In a world that is changing quickly, the only strategy is guaranteed to fail is not taking risks.
Cheers, I agree with that. Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Ciao, bro.